Okay, we've got a few more numbers now, so we'll get underway. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today for February's new features webinar. And welcome, of course, and welcome to those of you who I maybe haven't met before. There's a few names I don't recognize, so just a quick hello from me. My name's Connor. I'm part of the UK team here at BGL who look after a little bit of everything, to be honest, and we'll be able to hopefully answer all of your questions. Feel free to test me throughout the session. If I can't answer, I'll let you know. But we will have a little Q&A section at the very end of today's session, where I will go through and answer any questions that have come in throughout the kind of webinar, and do my best to answer some of those. So for those of you I haven't met, hello and welcome. Hopefully I will get a chance to speak with you a bit more after the session as well. But just to dive in today, I know it may be the first webinar for some of you. So just to give you a bit of info in terms of what might come up today, we tend to run through any Companies House updates that may have come in directly from Companies House that you can expect. I'd like to give everyone a few status updates on some of the key reported issues that have been going on at the moment. There is some good news in there, so that's something for you to look forward to. I will just give you a bit of an update about where everything is, what might have been fixed, what might still be in the process with our technical teams, and what to expect as well. What I'll then do is run through some of the new releases that have come throughout 2026 so far. There is a small handful of those. I'll explain what each of them are, what you can expect from them, and how they work as well. And what we do have is probably the most exciting thing is the roadmap for 2026. There are a number of different new features to the product and different things that are coming throughout the year. I will run you through what each of those are and what to expect. Unfortunately for those, I don't have any live examples as they are still being built, but I can give you an idea about what they might look like, and what benefits you might see from them as well. And then, as mentioned just a second ago, we will have a quick question and answer session at the end. There is a Q&A box that should be open on the webinar. If it's not, let me know, but you should be able to put all of your questions in there throughout the session. I will come to them at the end as opposed to doing them as we go. That way we can kind of get through all the content, as some of the answers may come up a little bit later in the session as well. So this is actually really good news. A little bit unusual. We don't actually have any planned maintenance from Companies House, which makes a really positive change for once. So at the moment, what we are expecting is that all your documents should process fairly quickly. There's no expected delays or disruptions planned for Companies House maintenance. As mentioned, I know there's a few of you who are new to these webinars or maybe new to CAS 360 in general. If we do ever get any maintenance, what you will receive is a banner in the software. It will normally either be blue or orange. You will have to close it to get rid of it, so you can't really miss it, and it will tell you the dates of expected maintenance or disruption from Companies House. It normally only lasts a couple of hours when it does occur, but it can just mean filings take a little bit longer than usual. But for once, from Companies House, a positive bit of feedback that we aren't expecting any over the next couple of weeks. So I know I mentioned a quick status update for some of the ongoing fixes. Thank you to those of you who have reported all of those to us. It's really helpful to kind of keep us informed with what you're seeing and what's going on. As much as I try to keep my eyes everywhere, I do miss stuff from time to time. So please keep the feedback coming, with things that need to be improved or fixed. And hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight, a little bit of reassurance that we are working behind the scenes to make sure everything's correct. So just to run through some of these, I know some of you reported that when doing ID verifications through the software, some of your clients were receiving an email to say that it had failed. They shouldn't be receiving that. It's been raised with our team and a fix was released for that 2 days ago. I'm losing track of my week this week, so it should have been Monday or Tuesday. That was released, so that should no longer be happening. Comparison reports. I know we did have a couple of reports where the mismatches were a little bit odd. To give you an example, it was matching Dave to John rather than Dave to Dave and John to John, for example. That has also now been fixed, so it should be matching the correct names and the correct addresses against each other, and it should no longer occur. Of course, if either of those things do pop up again, let us know as soon as possible, and we will implement a fix to get them corrected. You may have noticed accounts final alerts were released to the system. However, some of the dates on some of your platforms may be completely incorrect. We are aware of that. It's being reported to us. The fix for that is still ongoing. If it has happened to you, please let us know. Tell us what dates are wrong, and I will feed it all back so that we can get a kind of fix even better and more accurate as it comes. That is ongoing. Our dev team are working on it, and it should be with us hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Likewise, we've had a couple of reports on a company listing report that is pulled from the system that the financial year end is appearing blank. Again, that is in process with our dev team. It has been reported. If this is something that's happening to you, please let me know. And again, I'm hoping this should be with us in the next few weeks for a complete fix to stop it happening again. If you've experienced any of these, please reach out to me directly. Feel free to pop them in the chat. Let me know, and I will make sure they're reported so that we can work on making sure everything is correct. But the good news is these are being fixed. Hopefully, again, it gives you a bit of reassurance that we do listen to all of your feedback and reports, and we are working on them as we speak. So, new releases so far in 2026. There have been a few different updates, some of them to the workflow, some just to the appearance, and some of them are actually really, really positive for helping you get the most out of CAS 360, I think is the kind of best way to describe it. We will run through each of these individually, and I will break them down, give you some examples, and show you how each of them look as well, and what you can expect and some of the benefits you might get from them. The first one is your new user interface. It's a completely fresh makeover for CAS 360 in 2026. You don't actually need to do anything for any of these updates, but particularly this one, they will always be done automatically. Your system will be updated and you will get a notification every time it's done. So this one should already be with you, but it's really important that no matter how this new interface looks for you, all of the button and the processes remain exactly the same as they were before. And I'll give you a couple of examples in those in just a second. This is kind of how your dashboard should be looking. It is very similar to before, but kind of spatially and kind of some of the different icons look ever so slightly different. But as mentioned, they all work exactly the same way and produce exactly the same things for you. Hopefully you won't have as many red alerts as I've got on my demo account, but as mentioned, it all works exactly the same. You'll notice this more so on this contact page here. This is the one that has kind of had the biggest makeover, the biggest kind of renovation to it, if you like. It's hopefully a little bit easier to read. It's hopefully a little bit more structured in terms of where you can find the information that you need. It does look a little bit different. To give you an example, the ID verification buttons are now in the bottom left as opposed to the top right. But again, just to reiterate, they work exactly the same way. It's hopefully just a little bit easier to use and to find the information that you need. If you're unsure about where to find anything following these changes, please let me know. Give me a ring, pop me an email, and I will help you out with where to find everything you might need. The second update that has come to us in 2026 is the additional multiple change for contact address. So in a very brief summary, for those of you who like to do address changes, particularly through our multiple change feature, there is now an extra option for you to do it for an individual contact's address. We do really recommend it's kind of a side note, apologies. We do really recommend the kind of multiple change feature for doing the majority of your address changes, purely because it's a little bit quicker, it encapsulates a lot more data, and it saves the slim possibility that you might miss any documents. I'll give you an example on the next slide as well. I'll talk through now what this contact address change will look like, but for those of you who maybe aren't using multiple change as a whole, this is the same example. This is exactly how multiple change works as well. So on the left-hand side, you've got a toolkit, which has your multiple change section in there, and you can come in and select new change. All of these changes are available with contact address being the new one. At the top, you'll be able to select the contact in question. I think I went for Joe Bloggs here, and it will give you Joe Bloggs' current address. You've then got the opportunity to enter the new address. I think he moves to Aussie Centre, and select your resolution date as well. The bit at the bottom is the really, really key bit. Also apply this change to where companies or businesses' service address are the same or where other contacts have the same address. You can view those companies or contacts just by hovering over where it says companies or contacts in the yellow box and then toggle on the one you wish to do. Of course, only if applicable. If neither apply, just leave them off. As you proceed, it will tell you that because we've added all these different contacts who have the same address, we need forms for all of these. And at one click of the button, you have forms for every single one of them. All you then need to do is go through and prepare forms for each one, and the process remains exactly the same from your document production screen or from this point onwards to filing with Companies House. Before I move on, I'm just going to give 10, 20 seconds for anyone who might have any questions to pop them in the Q&A section, and then we'll move on to the next update, which is personal code alerts. So personal code alerts, this is something that has been really heavily requested by a number of you, a number of our different clients. So again, hopefully it gives you that little bit of reassurance that we are listening and are doing our very best to make sure we can get everything to you as quickly as possible. The personal code alerts is basically in its simplest form, an extra alert on your dashboard, which tells you when a company has an individual within it who does not have a personal code added to their contact page. So how do you find these? How do they work? How do you add the code in? First of all, on the very left-hand side of your screen, on your dashboard, you have an extra filter for personal code alerts. Of course, you can filter by ones that are required or ones that are complete, but most commonly you'll be filtering by the ones that are required. Once you click this, your dashboard will reflect based on this yellow alert in here. The best way I can describe it is almost like a blank Facebook profile picture that's yellow. That is clickable. Once you click onto it, you will get a little bit of information here, which tells you there's either 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, however many there are individuals within the company that still require a personal code to be added to them on CAS 360. Once in here, you can click on Go to Companies House Personal Code, and it brings you to this pop-up here. It gives you the list of individuals underneath. You're able to send a reminder to them. If you have already requested the personal code for them, you can do that from here. Or if they've sent you the code and you just need to add it in, it's as simple as clicking on Add Personal Code. I'm hoping some of you will by now be really familiar with this box here of adding the personal code in. And those of you who are used to it, you're probably very sick of me repeating myself saying the really, really key bit here is this question underneath. It's worded quite formally, but essentially all it's asking you is, does the name for the individual on Companies House match the name that's in their passport or their ID document that they used? The best kind of example I can give you of this is Joe Blogs, who we used earlier in the previous video. He may be Joe Blogs on Companies House, but actually on the passport or ID document used, it could be Joseph Blogs, it could be Josephina Blogs, to give you an example. In that situation, you would turn this toggle off and you'll have the option to select preferred name or whatever the reason may be, and then save it. All that is doing is telling the software, yeah, there's a slight discrepancy. We're happy with it. We're aware of it. And we're happy to kind of proceed forward as normal. You probably get sick of me repeating that and repeating that, repeating that, but it's really important. So please just double check that toggle every time you add a new personal code in against an individual. So staying on the theme of kind of ID verifications, we have added in a extra screen as part of your messages section. So I don't know how many of you kind of refer to the messages section quite often, but essentially it gives you your inbox, your outbox, what's coming in and out of CAS 360 in terms of emails. It can be found on the left-hand side of your screen using the messages icon. And once you're inside, it will give you a number of tabs across the top. ID verification is the brand new tab that has been released in 2026. What goes on in here? The first thing once you come in here that I would encourage everyone to have a look at is the filter columns button here. You'll be able to customize the type and the amount of information that you have on your dashboard to suit and reflect what you would like. That is done on a per user basis. So if two of you work for the same practice or the same firm, you can customize it entirely differently to suit your own personal kind of desires and what you would like to see and what you need. Within here, you will be able to search by name to see how many times you have sent an individual or a client an ID request. You'll be able to filter based on names down the left. You'll see the email address it was delivered to. It will give you the current status of whether it's been completed or whether you're still waiting on information from the client. And it will give you a little icon to let you know what the result was if it has been completed. What this is really good for is seeing how many times you may have sent an ID request out to a client, seeing who you are still waiting on information from and going and chasing them up and all that kind of stuff. So it just gives you a little bit more of a general overview of kind of what you've done in terms of ID verifications. Again, staying on the theme of ID, you'll notice a lot of our releases have been centered around it for 2026 so far. Again, this is something that's been really, really heavily requested, and this is one that I've really, really been quite excited to see. So hopefully you are as well. But the ability to store a copy of the ID and the ID details automatically within CAS when you do an ID verification. It is a legal requirement, but what it will do is save you having to request an ID through CAS and request a copy of the ID itself from the client. It's all going to be done in one big rounded procedure. You don't actually have to do too much in terms of your current process of requesting ID. Currently, you will come in, you will select the option of the ID you wish to carry out, whether it's £5, £6, whichever one you choose. But now underneath, you will have the addition of optional settings. In here, not only can you choose the client's email, if they have multiple emails, you can choose which one it's going to go to, as well as the reminders which were previously there. You now have this question at the bottom, which is a request to store the ID and biometrics. Simply flicking this toggle on and clicking proceed, that's all you need to do. Your process then remains exactly the same, but from now on, you will get a copy of the ID saved to CAS 360, as well as the details involved with it. That is a very quick kind of summary and run through of some of the changes that have already come to the platform in the first sort of 6 to 8 weeks of CAS 360 in the UK of 2026. What I will do is just take a brief pause, 15-20 seconds. If you've got any questions on any of those, please pop them in the Q&A section, and I will come to those at the end of the session. And then what I'm going to do is move on to the roadmap, which is a little bit heavier. It gives you a bit of an insight into where we're going, and it should give you an opportunity to hopefully see some of your previous requests come into life a little bit. Hey, amazing. So roadmap for 2026. I think it's important before we kind of go into the details to kind of give you the heads up that this is a 12-month project. There are smaller projects within it, but the goal for us is to hopefully have all of this with you by the end of December 2026. Some of it may come very quickly, some of it may come a lot further down the line. And if I'm being really honest, the majority of it I don't have dates for yet, as they are still in the process of being built. This isn't an exclusive nor an exhaustive list of everything coming to the platform. It's just highlighting some of the really key features that you are going to see the biggest difference from. Of course, in addition to everything on this roadmap, we're going to be releasing new forms. There's going to be workflow improvements. There's going to be different alerts coming to the platform that have been requested as well. But this just encapsulates some of the biggest changes and some of the kind of most highly requested things that have been kind of asked for CAS 360 in the UK. I will do my best to explain them as we go. I don't think for any of them I've got any live examples yet, as they are still in production. But as our webinars go on every month, I'll be able to show you more and more about each of these and give you some more accurate timescales on when to expect them as well. But for now, it's kind of a first glance, a first look. But what would be really good for us is to hear any of your feedback on it. So if there's an idea that you really like, please tell us. If there's an idea and you think, I don't like how that's going to work, it could work better this way, please tell us. We do listen to it. We do try and take it on board. And that way, before the release comes, hopefully we can get it right on the kind of first attempt as well. So the first one is a scheduled send of emails from document production. What does that mean? So currently in CAS 360, when you produce a document or produce multiple documents or a document pack, should I say, you have to send it immediately, whether that's downloading it and getting it out to your client or whether that's sending it from within CAS 360 via email, it has to be done straight away. What this update is going to do is enable you to prepare now and send in the future. So you may want to do all of your COSEC work for the week ahead on a Monday morning, as an example. You can go in once this update is released, prepare all your documents for the week ahead and say, I want to send this one on Tuesday, this one on Thursday, this one on Friday, and then you can kind of take your hands off COSEC for the remainder of the week. It should enable you to kind of manage everything a little bit better, kind of spend some time doing some more exciting things than maybe a bit of COSEC work. Um, but that's the kind of aim for this particular update. AI enhanced comparison reports. This is one that I think I'm looking forward to more than anyone else across the country or across the world, actually, because this is going to be a global piece for CAS 360. I know a lot of you have reported to us that when on a comparison report, a lot of the discrepancies that show up are actually really similar. It could be capital letters, it could be a comma, it could be an address format is ever so slightly different in the sense that one says England and one doesn't, or one says Scotland and one doesn't. What this AI enhanced feature is going to do is start to pick up on those really, really minor discrepancies and start to turn them green and give them ticks and kind of save you that manual scan every time you're looking to do a confirmation statement, for example. It's going to make your life a little bit easier. It's going to make the comparison reports much easier to read. It's going to save you time looking at the kind of really minor discrepancies as you look to produce comparison reports and go through and do confirmation statements and things like that. So that's what I'm really excited for. It should save you a lot of time, should make things a little bit easier. And most importantly, we did have some queries surrounding this, particularly with new members of staff who are just getting used to CAS 360. It's not always straightforward to kind of identify those minor discrepancies, and this should look to combat that as well. So the CAS 360 chatbot is also going under some major improvements. I know a lot of you use it at the moment for support queries and questions that you might have, and you probably often find that 99% of the time you have to say, talk to a human in order for myself and the team to receive an email to come and help you out as well. What this is looking to do is try and fix that. It's to try and really help give you some proper answers that aren't your kind of standard rubbish AI, if I dare say it. It will take on board kind of all the data that's within CAS 360. It will be able to interpret and analyze different documents, give you recommendations, give you some really key points, or highlight any potential missing information on why you might be struggling with documents or what you might need. And it should be a more all-rounded, really helpful tool. But of course, we will still be here to help you with that if that's your preferred method. It's just looking to kind of help speed up the process so that you maybe necessarily aren't always waiting for a human to become available to then help you with your query. Structured diagrams. This is quite an important one. Another thing that's going to be brand new to CAS 360 across the globe, not just the UK, but it's going to give you the ability to see the flow of relationships for your clients from a central point outwards. So you may be able to see kind of visually, as opposed to just knowing in your head exactly how the business flows, who owns what shares, who maybe has control, whether there's any kind of RLE PSCs, whether there's any companies with shareholdings. It should give you a really easy method of being able to view that workflow, how it all lays out, without kind of having to think too much is the goal. So that would be really beneficial if you are trying to understand the structure of a company, how it might work, what changes maybe need to be implemented, as well as how that end result might look as well. Again, just before we move on, I'll give 15-20 seconds. If there's any questions to go into the Q&A, please pop them in there and I will do my best to answer them at the end. So multi-step document review process is another thing that is going to be brand new to the global scale of CAS 360, and not specifically just the UK. We're going to be releasing this in all of our jurisdictions. And what it's looking to change is that currently, once you're in CAS 360, you produce a document and you send it to your client. What it's really looking to tackle is, there may be multiple people within your firm who need to look at that document. An example could be it's going from a junior member of staff to a senior partner, or somebody who's more senior, like an MD, who needs to maybe do an extra transaction, or an extra change for the company that's a little bit more complex before it goes to the client for review. This will allow you to do that and build those structures into CAS 360 so that the workflow matches exactly what your firm normally does. Of course, not all of you may wish to use this. It may work better for certain firms than it does for others, but having that ability there is going to be really, really good, for you to kind of have a play around with. It may even be on the odd occasion that you need a second review. This is going to enable you to do it without having to pull somebody over to your desk to have a look at your screen. Now, this one is a really, really big one. Automated confirmation statements. I, for one, am really, really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be brilliant for us in the UK. And it does exactly what it says on the tin. You are going to have the option to automate chosen confirmation statements for certain clients. Where, to give you an example, I think a really, really good one would be, your standard husband and wife business. Nothing changes too much year to year. It tends to always be the same two shareholders. Nothing really goes on. Now, if the comparison report is to change to past, or is to pass and all be green, which it should be based on the some earlier stuff I've mentioned, you will have the option just to automate that confirmation statement. The document will be prepared, it will go to your client for signing, it will all be done automatically, and it will give you an alert once it's been signed to say, yeah, we can file that, and it'll be ready for you to go. That's going to save you so much time with so many clients, and it means you can actually focus a little bit more time on the clients that need the time, and the work put into them for more complex transactions and more complex changes. So I, for one, I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to really, really benefit us in the UK, and hopefully you feel the same. But as mentioned earlier, if you've got any feedback on some of these, please let us know, and we will look to get them spot on our release. This one, electronic signing support for external documents. This is targeted specifically towards those of you who are using some of our e-sign functions, and integrations and setups and that kind of thing. So whether you're with DocuSign, Adobe Sign, FuseSign, these are the kind of ones that are aimed at you. So currently, when you set up a document pack, only the documents created within CAS 360 are the ones available for your client to sign. What this change is going to bring in is that any ad hoc documents that you wish to bring in to the software, if you are using one of our e-sign solutions, you can add it to your document pack, send it via your e-sign company, and also get that document signed so that it all remains together, starting in CAS 360 via your e-sign and back into CAS 360 amongst all your signed documents and your history as well. Again, this one is quite specific to those of you using that kind of e-sign setup that we offer, some of those e-sign integrations. But for those of you who are not, there is also something coming for you. Again, this isn't not available to those using e-sign, but this encapsulates all of our client base as opposed to those just using the e-sign. Client portals. This is going to be massive for us as well. This is something that has been in the pipeline for a very long time, and I'm really excited to see it come to the UK. We are going to be setting up a client portal that your clients can go in and access. They will be able to view documents. They'll be able to confirm and review documents that are in there. They'll be able to say that they're not happy and make any change, request any changes that might need to happen. They'll be able to access old documents to save them coming to you and you going to have to find them. And they'll be able to do it all from within this portal. The idea of this is just to make life easier for yourselves and for your clients. It's all in one place. You can see exactly what they're getting up to. They can come in and see exactly what they need to do, access history, access old documents. It should just make life easier and quicker all round for both parties. I believe this is the final one, which is detailed user permissions. So what are these? There's a kind of array of things that this applies to. I know we often refer to these at the moment as parental controls. It's essentially an extension off of that, but how's it going to benefit you and how's it going to benefit your clients? One of the main things is added permissions. The best example I can give again, if you've got new members of staff coming on board, potentially junior staff coming on board, and you've got your own practice or your own firm within CAS 360, you can limit what they can see within that firm and kind of hide bits of information or limit the access of what they can view and access within the CAS 360 platform. It also applies to those of you who maybe have multiple offices within your firm. So you may have a London office and a Manchester office, for example. What this feature is going to be able to do is mean the staff in the London office can only see what the London office looks after, and vice versa, likewise for the Manchester office as well. So you'll be able to split it up on an office by office basis without having to have multiple platforms on the go at the same time. I think one of the biggest benefits of this is that it can even reach the possibility where you have clients who do their own COSEC work, maybe file their own CSO1s every year, their own confirmation statements. You will be able to get them to come onto the platform. They'll only be able to see their own company if you've set it up that way. They'll be able to do their COSEC work from within CAS 360 and submit it as well. And that way you can see absolutely everything that they're doing. You have full control over everything they're doing, even though they're doing it themselves, and you can see all the changes that are made. So that'll really help you stay on top of stuff, really help you kind of see where clients may be going wrong if they're doing things themselves, and help you to correct and see the full history of everything that's going on as well without having to pull it in from company's house. For those of you who I've not seen before, I know there's a few names. These are some of the key contact details to reach out to us with any queries or concerns that you possibly have. Of course, if you've got any questions, if you want to sit one-to-one, please let me know. In terms of questions, I like to think it's a positive. I've only had one in there so far, and it's just in relation to personal code alerts. Are we able to pull a report on personal code alerts? Unfortunately, not at the moment. It's something that I've been requested. I don't have a timescale for it just yet. But what you are able to do is go and look at each individual company, and it should all be able to be managed from the dashboard. But I actually agree. I think pulling a report out of the system, exporting it will be really, really good in terms of personal code alerts. One that we have had in terms of kind of report updates is the PSC listing report. You are able to pull that from the report section and filter on birth month for all of your PSCs. It will tell you whether they're a director as well. It will tell you kind of or give you an indicator of exactly the month you need to do an ID check for each of your PSCs. In terms of importing, I had a question for importing images of signatures on the document. Um, it's a really good question, actually. So just to give a kind of broader answer for that, if you are getting email approval, for example, from your clients, you can screenshot an email, you can screenshot a signature they might have sent back, and you can add this to the attachments section in the document screen. I'm more than happy to kind of send some emails out about this and show you how to do it. Um, you are able to take a screenshot, drag and drop a screenshot into the documents section once something's been filed or approved and save it within CAS 360. We really recommend doing this actually as it keeps everything in one place. We don't charge for storage. So if you are ever audited, it's all there, it's all accessible, it's all in the same software, and you can pull what you need from it. I think it sort of comes off the back of the electronic sign-in thing I mentioned earlier. What this is going to do is basically mean if you've got any extra documents that you wanted to add, we would be able to get those signed as well. But PDF documents, screenshots, whatever it may be, we can drag and drop those into the documents section, and is actually a really recommended practice. But if you'd like to see how to do that, please pop me an email, and I will happily show you exactly how we do that so that you can stay on top of everything. Of course, if you do use an e-sign solution already, you don't need to worry about that. The signed documents will come back into CAS 360 automatically. I think that kind of applies to those of you who maybe don't use one of our e-sign solutions at the moment. I think that is all the questions we've got at the moment. I will stay here for sort of 30 seconds to a minute, maybe 2 minutes, to see if any more come in. But apart from that, thank you all for your time today. I even finished a little bit earlier than the hour, which is always nice. These will be running every month throughout 2026 to give you kind of some more info and some more updates. There are some really exciting things coming. Hopefully, this gives you an example of some of the big things to come to CAS 360. But thank you all for taking the time to attend. And as I said, if you've got any questions, please reach out to me at any point, and I will do my best to give you a hand. Complete side note, if any of you are attending any events over the course of March, I think we're at two or three different ones. We're at Alternative Festival of Accounting Bookkeeping. Please come and say hello. We've normally got some goodies we'll give away. If you want to grab a coffee, let us know, and we'll make it happen. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you all on the next webinar.